Listen up. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the podcast participants, and not to any participant's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. You know, for fun. So lighten up and enjoy. Well, Stomping Jen.
Yes.
Here we are once again.
We are.
Talking to each other.
Yes.
And about to talk to a guest who I have been looking forward to speaking with. We are going to be talking with Divya Akhouri, who is a Los Angeles-based photographer and artist.
Woohoo!
I have many, many questions, as usual.
As you always do.
I have come prepared to ask these questions.
Excellent.
Are you ready to assist me as co-host?
I am. I'm fully fueled up on sour neon gummy worms.
Sour neon gummy worms. Okay. I have eaten some malted chocolate milk balls.
Perfect.
So this should be...
Full of sugar.
Full of sugar. We will be in rare form for this conversation.
Great.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
The Soft Serve Podcast.
Creamy, delicious ideas without the creepy truck. Stomping
Oh, no,
Jen,
not again.
I'm singing to you at the beginning once again.
Oh, you're rhyming this
I
time.
love the chimes.
The chimes are pretty cool.
Yes, they are. And as the chimes begin to ring, we begin to think about talking with our guest. So let us say hello to our guest, Divya Akhouri. Hello, Divya. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
We are happy that you are here. Now, I checked in with you before we started recording and asked if how I was going to describe you as a photographer and artist was sufficient. You kindly said yes, but we always like to give our guests an opportunity just to say a little bit more about themselves, offer anything additional. So I'm gonna turn the microphone over to you and just let you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. How I would love to describe myself is a Renaissance woman. I've wanted this since, high school art history class, and I learned about the Renaissance man, and I was like, why not a Renaissance woman? I'm really good at doing everything.
That's right.
I like to dabble in basically any sort of visual creative pursuit, and I've done a lot of different things. I've worked in fashion as a stylist. I've done some design work. I've done some graphic design work, photography. I'm a painter. Basically, I could teach myself any of this stuff. And for me, it's just exciting to try new mediums. So Renaissance woman, please.
That's awesome. I'm going to give you one of these. That is our celebratory noise on this podcast. So whenever you hear whenever you hear that, you've said something that
I love that you describe it as a celebratory noise.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay. That's what it is.
I know.
I'm celebrating.
It's just funny.
You listed a long list of skills, and I'm curious. You mentioned that you could teach yourself anything. Are you typically self-taught in a lot of those areas that you mentioned?
Yeah, I went to art school. I studied painting in my undergrad. I studied fashion design, but all the jobs I've had, I've had to teach myself those skills. Like photography, I have, through everything that I've learned as a painter, helped me with the, like composition and thinking about light and color and how to portray people and creating a narrative. That just came naturally from that. And working in fashion, that helped because you're creating images. And so it was more about learning the technicalities of using a new tool, which is a camera. So that, I taught myself through practice and through YouTube videos.
Mm.
Oh, I love YouTube videos. I entirely taught myself podcasting by watching
That's
YouTube
true.
YouTube videos for months.
Yeah.
Like I was like, here's a goal I want to achieve. And I just sat down and I began watching YouTube videos in my spare time. I was like, okay, I need to learn about this piece, that piece, and that piece. So
See, he's a Renaissance man. You're a Renaissance woman, and he's a Renaissance man.
Renaissance people.
we are Renaissance people.
We are all
Stomping Jen.
Renaissance people. I love it.
Now, Stomping Jen, I would describe you. Divya and I are obviously from the Renaissance period. You are a dark age person.
I'm a medieval person.
some kind of dark age creature.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Preach.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I am not Renaissance minded. That's for sure.
So
I'm colorful entrepreneurs.
Yes.
yeah. So Divya, I saw on your Instagram that you are opening a studio in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Tell us about this new space. I was really curious when I saw that.
Okay. So I have been, I started getting into photography as a professional this past year in the pandemic. And, I've mostly just shot people on location in their spaces. And I had a painting studio in my apartment and at home. And I had the opportunity and I felt I had the opportunity because I got a grant, and I felt like it was time to take these endeavors to the next level and kind of set myself up for taking on, larger projects and just pushing myself creatively and what is possible. So
Congratulations.
Mm.
That's a big move. Does it mean something to you special as an artist to kind of have this unique space of your own and to be able to build it up from kind of the bottom?
Yeah, I do feel like it's, hold on, let me gather my thoughts here. I had a vision for it. I have a vision and I could kind of picture what it is. And there's something so right about this next move, which I'm not sure, where it's going to take me, but that's the exciting part because I feel like every step that I take towards building this, it just opens up so many new paths and possibilities and interesting collaborations. It's exciting, and I love that I get to make it my own because I, as a Renaissance woman, as you know, Brad,
Yes.
Sorry, Sawtooth, that, it's important for me to create a space that caters to all the different needs that I have. So the space I can do studio photography, I could make videos in there, I can keep working on my paintings, and I will have a nice chill, good vibe space to do any digital kind of, computer work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I will say it is super important for artists to have that separation space, an inspirational space that you can make your own. I yearn for that one day.
Yearning.
I yearn for that one day.
Well, hopefully we'll get that.
We've slowly been doing it within our own home, but there is
Yeah.
something I think to be said to like take it outside of your house,
Yeah.
and have that separate space.
Yeah. Well,
Hint, hint, cough,
yeah.
cough.
Yeah, I thought I had a good thing going with the studio in my apartment because you wake up, you have coffee and breakfast, and you just like walk into the next room and start working. But now that this has happened, it does feel
Yeah.
like I can take myself more seriously in a way, which
Yeah. And you mentioned that you started getting more serious about photography kind of from a professional standpoint at the start of the pandemic. And I'm curious, as an artist, what draws you to photography, the art form?
I think especially in the pandemic, the immediacy of it is something that's very appealing to me. I'm a painter, and in making oil paintings, it just takes a long time. It's something you just like work on by yourself, and the kind of isolation of the pandemic made me really appreciate the people that I was quarantined with and who I was around, and to be able to collaborate with other people is really rewarding for me. And I think that ability to connect with people more directly through photography is what I like about it as an art form.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a little bit. As even though you're with people when you're taking their picture, there's this machine like between you and them as well. Do you ever think about that? Like that technological like barrier between you and the person? Is it a good thing? Like, is it a bad thing? Is it neither?
I feel like it's like I am the person that's kind of creating a safe space for the subject that has to be very vulnerable in front of the camera. And the goal, I mean, for me, is to get some sort of truth in a picture, in a photograph, and to create that sense of like well-being and comfort is what I think the human brings to it. And I think that, and so it takes away from the I don't know, the distance that's created with having this like machine in between you that's like looking at you and capturing your image.
Yeah. Speaking of trying to capture the truth of the person or the situation, when you're taking pictures and you're in the moment, can you know that you're being successful toward that objective? Like, or is it later when you go back and look at your roll or the digital pictures, like, oh my God, I captured this amazing picture? Or do you know in the moment?
So far in my experience, I know in the moment, and generally it's like that immediate, that first picture where I'm like, oh wow, this is great, and like catching that moment, and then I'll try to like get a few additional shots just to make sure I got it. And it's almost always the first one where I had that reaction that that's the picture. And so I know in the moment when we had it, because it's a feeling that's created between me and the person or people that were shooting together.
Yeah. In terms of the tools that you use, do you use primarily like digital cameras or do you use film?
I have used primarily digital cameras, and I got into it just using my phone,
Yeah.
that's how I started out. And I feel like there's something freeing about taking photos on my phone before I decided to go into it more professionally, where I had to, have higher quality images and a real digital camera. but yeah, there's less pressure. You just
Yeah.
snap.
I mean, I'm holding up this iPhone, right? And we've all seen those, promotional ads where like people have shot entire movies on iPhones. These are now, they're no longer like the 2 megapixel like things, that
yeah.
these are stomping Jen,
He's
Divya.
like-
these are high quality devices,
high-tech
right?
devices. Is that what
They're
you're trying to say?
Yeah. But you use different equipment now, right?
Yeah,
Now that you've gone into a more now that you're in a professional capacity.
Yeah, I use a digital camera just to get higher resolution images so they can be used across different kind of media, like print or for web. And but I also like bringing my Polaroid camera with me and taking a couple photos, just to have something special and unique. And
Are your clients surprised by that when you pull that old dinosaur out and you say, "I'm going to snap a Polaroid of you"?
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's just something. It's just something for me and something for them that it's like separate from the work part of it.
That's a really cool thing.
I love Polaroids.
We had a Polaroid that we found that I like pulled out of my parents' house, and we tried to resurrect it, and we couldn't. It didn't work.
No, it took a picture. It was just
the new version.
Yeah.
We
might have to. I mean, if anybody wanted to get into.
All right, got it. You want a Polaroid camera for the next holiday where gifts are appropriate. I got it, Stomping Jen. Okay.
It's a birthday.
So Divya, I had a question about kind of what a typical photo shoot looks like. So you have somebody who needs pictures, and do they typically come to your studio, and do you go on location typically? And can you walk us through what a typical photo shoot looks like for you?
Sure. So far, because I just got my studio, I haven't shot in a studio space. So typically the way it would work, I would speak to the person and I would try to spend some time with them before we start shooting, just to get comfortable with them so that there's a certain amount of ease, that they feel when we're shooting together. Of course, that doesn't work with everybody, like people that have really tight schedules. You just got to go in and take pictures quickly. But yeah, I just come prepared. I'll make a Pinterest board and kind of think of ideas and have a vision for specific images that I want to capture with them. And then I'll just kind of let it go and be a bit more free while we're actually shooting to allow for something new to happen and spontaneous things to happen. But I'll always have this, like a predetermined image that I know I can get. So.
Yeah. And do you have to haul around things like lights and all of that stuff, or is that stuff already on location where you're going?
So depends on the shoot. Most of them, if we're going around outdoors on location and just like moving to different spaces, no, I wouldn't have the lights. But in spaces where we're in one place and it's private and we can move around and have more time, then I'll bring my lights and I could do different lighting setups. But I have mostly used natural light.
Yeah. Cool. And I imagine there are certain locations that represent challenges. Like if you have to go do a shoot on a beach or something, right? Like you have to think about, all right, I might get knocked over by a wave, or a seagull might shit on my head, or do on location challenges pose a challenge? Sorry, thanks, Stomping Jen. You bailed me out of that rhetorical bear trap.
That's the stuff that's really fun for me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's when new things happen, and I don't know. I am a very adaptable person and spontaneous person, and I'm able to be open enough to see the potential and challenges. So yeah, it's always been like something unexpected that I couldn't have imagined usually happen. Those things come up. So I appreciate those things.
Yeah. I love to ask artists this question, is kind of what role computers play in their art form. I imagine that since you're using primarily digital photography, you work a lot with computers in terms of taking the images from the camera and then, doing, processing if that's what's required on them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So actually a friend of mine kind of helped me get familiar with processing and color correcting images on the computer, from taking them from the digital camera onto your computer and putting it in Lightroom or Photoshop to kind of bring out certain elements to create the like story and the mood that you want. Because the thing with digital images is it captures so much information that you could really take it anywhere. With film, it's basically the kind of film and the color that it's like kind of pre-designed for gives you the mood and the vibe. Like you shoot it, that's the picture you're getting. But with digital camera, it's just this kind of like base raw information, and you can play with it and you can turn it into anything you want. And that's been really fun. It is a lot more time on a screen than I'm used to, but it's cool. I really enjoy it.
Are you a Mac or a Windows person?
I'm a Mac person. I don't think I could use a Windows computer.
Me. I love Mac. I love Macs. Yeah, I mean the possibilities with how you can alter images is frightening, right? Like I get 3 steps down an Instagram filter and I freak out. I'm like, no one knows what this is, or I fucked this up, and I always go back or undo all my filters because I always mangle it.
You do?
Yeah, I have no sense of how to adjust like levels and light, and God forbid I start screwing around in Photoshop with that stuff. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of helpful to have when there's a client and they want a specific type of image and for a specific platform or reason, then it kind of narrows down the quality of the picture, the amount of like skin retouching or color correction or stylization that you can play with. But for me, it's like making a painting. You just can turn it into anything you want to tell a story. And I kind of go in there and I play around and like move sliders around and see the possibilities of what it could be, because you can always go back to the original, which is fun. And sometimes I save like different versions and they tell totally different stories.
Yeah. So I mentioned to you before we started recording that I was kind of going through your Instagram, and as I was doing that, I was reading some of your captions and I was thinking to myself, wow, Divya could really put together like a book of quotes and insights. I'm going to read this and I have some questions for you about this. All right, so I'm going to quote you now. Quote, "I love finding the power and beauty in the women I shoot. I'm obsessed with the idea. It's in everything I've ever made. Probably because I never felt like I had either. My work is my contribution towards reclaiming the female image from centuries of the male gaze in art and dismantling the colonial patriarchal framework within myself in the process. All right, let's all take a breath. Because it's not just a lot. I mean, it's a really meaningful statement, right? Filled with a lot of important ideas. And there's some things I wanted to just ask you about there.
Sure.
I think the first thing I just wanted to ask you about was, tell us more about feeling like you've never had power and beauty, especially kind of as it relates to the legacy of the male gaze in art and kind of the patriarchal colonial framework.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I obviously think about this stuff a lot. But okay, so I was born in India and grew up there, lived there till I was about 11, and then moved to the States. And so that move kind of gave me this perspective on things that weren't quite right in the way society treated me as a dark-skinned girl and just a girl in general. Like, I grew up thinking like, oh, you will just never be beautiful. Don't even think about it. Like, not a possibility. So I don't know. It's just like this thing like, oh, you'll never be loved and you'll never be beautiful, because those went hand in hand. And then I came to America and, I moved to a super white city in Boston, at least when I was growing up there, and just being so different from everybody and just being treated differently. I went to art school in Boston, and people always assumed I went to the pharmacy school across the street because I'm Indian, and just being underestimated and, like people thinking certain things about me. And because of needing to assimilate as a teenager when I moved here, like I kind of absorbed all these kind of negative ideas. And then like late 90s, early 2000s were like very misogynistic time.
Yeah.
So it's just like all that stuff that I'd internalized that, as a adult with some like distance from that, I've been able to kind of undo that stuff through like working through it in my art and kind of even recognizing it because of it. Because a lot of the stuff is so subconscious, I didn't even know it. And just like reading stuff. And
like the creepy male photographer is like an archetype, like, right?
Yeah.
Like that it's like a joke in a lot of like shows and movies, but it's like that misogyny you describe is like a real thing that has real impacts on people.
Totally. I've mostly shot with women so far, and something that they've all said to me is how comfortable I make them feel. And, comparing it to other male photographers they might have worked with. And like, we could take pictures where they're being sexy or, and there's a vulnerability in that, but they can be that in a safe way with me as a female photographer. And I feel like I can see like the power in that without objectifying them. I can kind of honor that power, and I feel like that's valuable, and that's something that I want to put out there and be a part of. Like, I want to take up that space.
That's awesome. I'm throwing one of these out there.
There you go. What do you call that? Your celebratory
My
noise?
Celebratory noise, Stomp and Jen. So how do you as an artist find and bring out the power and beauty in other women? Is it as simple as saying, hey, you're safe with me, this is a safe space? Like, how in your process, like, how do you do that?
Well, I think it's just what I see in them. And, it's like they say, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's so true in photography. You really capture what you see in the person. And it's the truth that the photographer sees that comes out. And so I think it just happens. I don't know, besides creating a rapport with the person and making them feel safe and comfortable and great about themselves.
Are there, I'm sorry, are there a lot of women photographers out there kind of doing what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely in Los Angeles there are, and I imagine in New York and Boston too. But there's, I think there's only a handful of women that I could look up to that, I could Google and be like female photographers and look at their work and see it in magazines and kind of aspire to it. Definitely don't know of any South Asian female photographers here. But yeah, and I think that's important. I feel like growing up here, I was definitely lacking role models that I could fully relate to, like maybe creatively relate to, but on the same, like at the same time, I was being kind of not allowed to be a part of it. So, I think it's important for me to like be that person that I wish I saw.
Yeah. I'm just sitting with that for a minute. What do you think, Stomping Jen?
I think it's powerful to take on that role of trying to be a mentor, without actively trying to be a mentor, but like seeing that there's a gap and, trying to fill that. Well, doing it for yourself, number one, first and foremost, but like, yes, carving a path out for other women who can have that same experience, who don't have to have that same experience because you're doing it.
Yeah. That's what it's funny. I think we're on the same wavelength here. I was just thinking to myself, like, you are going to be that role model for somebody, So
now we need the celebratory.
We need the celebratory noise. It's just, we can't hold that back.
Oh my goodness.
So, in my tireless scrolling through your Instagram, I also noticed you did a shoot for a natural skincare line designed for women with brown skin. And the idea there was to shoot with natural light, no makeup, no skin retouching afterwards. And this was to kind of reflect the brand that you were working on. So I wanted to ask you, as somebody who maybe typically works with all of those things, what was it like shooting without artificial light, without makeup? I'm just curious, was that a different experience as a photographer? Like somebody saying, no makeup, you're not going to touch up any of these pictures afterwards. Does that present challenges for you as an artist?
Well, I feel like it definitely pushed me to be more creative in camera and on location. So, when I like go through my pictures, when I take the picture, I'll look on the screen and see like, oh, what does it look like? And just try to make it interesting using lights and shadows and the colors that are in the space and in the outfits, and to use that to make it dynamic. I think it was a cool experience to do that. Yeah.
Was it easier in some way that you didn't have to like fidget with lights? You didn't have to worry about, the makeup not being just right, or?
Yeah, it was fun because, like I told you, I think when you asked me what challenges I feel like it pushed me to do something new. And, every single job I've had so far has, I use it as an opportunity to grow as an artist, as a photographer specifically, because it is a new medium for me. And there's just so much for me to learn. And it's just like, I'm so grateful that I get to do it on the job, because that's the best way for me to learn, is by doing it. And it's cool to have people to shoot.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to read another quote. Are you ready? How is this hearing your own words read to you?
Weird. I didn't know I was so profound. But
Well, all right, here it goes. Right. All right. It's so fun to capture those in-between moments when I can see someone at their most free, loved, and comfortable. I'm learning that being a photographer can mean holding space for people to feel beautiful, vulnerable, and powerful. Now, I love that. I love that observation. And I wanted to ask you, as an artist, how do you work with people to kind of get those in-between moments in an authentic and unobtrusive way?
I think that kind of happens with time. It's easier to do it on a longer shoot, because then, you're chatting and you're having conversations and you're kind of moving around and doing different things. And in the moment of that, like, play some music and create a nice experience. So it's, it's not just work. It's not just you're standing here in front of the camera and I'm taking pictures, and it's not transactional like that. So it's, I feel like, more of an experience, like a moment, and it's a hang. So then if that happens, then it's easy to capture those in-between shots. I just keep clicking.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because it's not hiding in a bush and being like, all right, I'm going to be somewhere around here. You're not going to know, right? Yeah. It's not.
What kind of photography are you used to?
Paparazzi.
Well, I'm just saying,
people like jumping out of bushes.
in my mind, trying to capture people to be spontaneous would be hiding from them. And this is why I'm not a photographer, by the way.
I was going to say, what are you
I would be the
about?
worst photographer.
Yeah.
I'm going to be somewhere in here in this building, and I'm going to be hiding, and you'll never know when I'm taking pictures.
Well, I think you're talking about two different things, right?
Well, help me out.
You're talking about like an event photographer taking like a wedding photographer taking like natural pictures during an event. But I think what Divya is talking about is like one-on-one shooting specific people, which is like a complete, I don't think you can jump out of a bush with somebody.
Yeah, I guess like, thinking about, you present it that way. I never thought about it like this, but yeah, like, I guess I'm a part of that image then, because I am there and they know I'm there. And it is like a collaboration of something we create together. And
there has to be trust there in that relationship, right? That you have to build. I mean, that is the key to holding that space where people can feel vulnerable and beautiful, right? Is that they have to be able to trust you.
You're answering your own question.
I am.
Yeah.
That's the word.
With both of your help.
Yeah. That's right.
I got there.
That's right.
I think I have a better understanding of how this works in the real world now. Thank you. All right.
It's so interesting too, because I'm relating it to getting tattooed, which is like the weirdest connection, but that's like just where my mind went, because like you have to have that trust with your artist, right? That they're doing so as on the client side, right? So like, I'm just thinking from the other side of the camera, right? Or, the other side of the person making the art, you have to trust that person to know what they're doing.
Totally.
Right. So
you don't want an ugly tattoo and you don't want a bad picture of yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And they're also, in the same way, maybe a photographer is, they're also seeing parts of you that you typically don't reserve for people outside your close inner circle,
Right.
you know?
You have to allow yourself to be I mean, it depends what kind of pictures you're taking, obviously, but
Well, yeah, I mean, you're literally vulnerable, like both
Right.
in being the subject of photography and tattooing. Like in tattooing, you're laying on a table, right? And somebody is like,
inflicting pain on
or
you.
it's yeah. And you're in photography as a subject, you're laying yourself bare to the lens in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we figured it all out, Div.
Yeah. Another thing you've said is that it's a wonderful feeling to lose track of time when you're doing what you love. And we've talked to lots of artists about this. This feeling of losing time when you're doing something you love is what they call the flow state. I'm sure you've heard that word before. And I'm curious if you can tell us a little more what it's like for you when you're like really dialed into that moment doing what you love.
Well, when that is happening, I feel like everything else kind of falls away and it's just me and the person that's in front of me and all these like I feel like I start seeing the possibilities. Like you take one picture and it gives me an idea and it, like I'll move them or I'll move and we'll try something new. And then it goes into, and every move kind of leads to a new move and a new inspiration and new things that are happening that couldn't be preconceived. And I think that you have, like, as an artist, you just have to be open to that and like allow yourself to flow with it. And it's just really fun.
It's almost like you're not thinking, right? You're not thinking about maybe your next move or two moves down.
Yeah,
it's just
let it's so hard to describe, but I just let it take me where it needs to go.
Yeah. And afterwards, when it's over, are you conscious of the fact that you were like transported to this other like state of mind where after you're just like, wow, that was amazing. I don't know how we got through that 7 hours of shooting. It feels like it was 2 minutes.
Yeah, kind of, because you're like, oh, it's nighttime now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting for me, like the times I've been in that state are like when I'm typically exercising or which is somewhat fun and enjoyable, or when I'm like doing like work. And that's not like particularly fun. I'm just like so engrossed. I'm not even aware that I'm making decisions.
Right.
I'm just getting the work done.
Yes.
Anyway, especially when I was writing, like it's just like you're channeling something from the universe and it's just coming through you in some way and you don't even know how.
You can't think too hard about it because then it disappears.
Yeah.
So you just kind of
go with it. Go with the flow.
So photography to me seems like it's very physical work. You're moving around, you're lugging bags.
That's so sweaty. Yeah.
Do you lots of squatting? Laying
Many weird, like I'll lay on the ground.
Yeah.
I'll be climbing stuff to get a cool angle. Like I'll do anything. It doesn't even matter. I look totally ridiculous and crazy, but you gotta.
How do you take care of your body to be able to do the work? I imagine. Do you exercise regularly? Do you do yoga?
I just started to again, but no, I feel like that's my workout. No, I should. Like I should exercise more regularly so I could be a better photographer. And that is one of my goals. But carrying my daughter, like over the past almost 5 years has, given me the arm strength at least to carry heavy cameras and stuff. So I feel pretty comfortable about that. That is a thing. Like it is heavy gear. And you have to get into like weird positions, but I feel like I'm okay so far.
You're
Okay.
limber. You're limber for those
Yeah.
squats.
One shoot, I'd
I
be
love how
done.
you're like wrote like squatting.
That
The squat.
You do have to do squats and stuff. But I think having a kid, like playing with a toddler and like doing whatever you have to like take care of them, has kept me limber.
There you go.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that shifting a little bit away from photography right now, that you also paint. And you mentioned this to us, so I think I know the answer to this, but is it going to be easy for you to mix your painting and photography in your new studio space? Are those things you can do together in the same space easily?
I have some ideas for how to put them together, which I'm excited to get started on. But yeah, it's like a pretty big space, so I can have my painting area, but it's so different because painting is messy, and with a photography space, like you want it to be clean and not have like random paint splatter in your, like on the backdrop of your picture or something.
Yeah.
So that will be a fun challenge to deal with, but I do want to combine the two. And you've seen my paintings, right? They're the most recent ones. They're portraits of women, and they're in this kind of like abstract world. And so something that is like my next project, like personal project, passion project that I am working on, is create these like painted backdrops that will maybe resemble my paintings. I don't know. I'll have to get in there and start doing it. But I have all these giant canvases, which is, a lot of backdrops are paper or canvas or muslin. So I was just going to paint on them and then shoot a person in there that's like styled in a way that fits that painted space and basically create a new picture that's kind of like my painting.
So that is like a literal way of bringing together these two art forms that you love.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, go ahead.
So doing some commercial photography, but like, you could do photography as like an art. I mean, it is an art form. It's not what I'm trying not to say, but like, like have it, like I do collage, right? So like I'm mixing those two right? Like I'm stealing other people's images and making them my own, right? So, but like you could do the same thing. And what I'm hearing you say is like, you can do it. And then you could do like a show of your, I'm going to stop talking. I always do this. I would like give people ideas, and I realize I should not do that.
No, I totally know what you're talking about. Okay. I understand where you're going with it. I think about that. I feel like I never really thought of the possibility of myself as a fine art photographer because I don't know, maybe it's like feeling like not good enough to be able to do that or something. But, fine art photographers, they like studied photography and know how to print, film, and all this stuff. So like right now it seems a bit intimidating and like mystifying to me, but I'm sure I could demystify that for myself through learning about it more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see these projects, like these creative projects, they could fit into like fashion editorial kind of spaces, or I don't know, everyone's I like Instagram as a platform for putting out creative work because there's no restrictions, or not many restrictions, and you can be as creative as you want to.
Yeah, agreed.
So when you paint, again, I'm going to quote you here because I love your words. You wrote that you usually paint intuitively with a seed of intention to guide me. What does that mean? Tell us what that means to you.
Okay. So when I'm starting a painting, going into a painting, I have like either I have an idea of what I want the image to look like, or I have a concept that I'm trying to uh, relay through painting. Uh, and so with that, I'll just kind of let myself gather different pieces of information and kind of put it together. It's kind of like collage, Jen. Because I'll look at a reference image for a person, or I'll take a photo of myself if, to illustrate my point, I feel like a strong connection to a certain pose or a certain like body movement that expresses it. So I'll take that and then I'll think like what kind of imagery, and I'll pull imagery that I feel will convey the idea that I have, and yeah, and I'll have those references, and then I'll just start painting and see what happens as they interact with each other in on the canvas.
Yeah. Do you ever just go up to a blank canvas, like without any seed of intention, and just start painting? And is that a different experience for you as a painter?
Yeah, I feel like when I'm kind of have an artist block, I don't know if I believe in artist block or not, but when I don't have anything specific that I've been working on, but I feel like I need to just like go in and paint to generate ideas, then yeah, I'll do that. I'll just go to a blank canvas and start playing around. Like colors are really intuitive for me and like easy to like make me feel good. It's like instant gratification to mix up pretty colors and start painting with it. And then in these like abstract shapes, like maybe an image will come out and then I'll just kind of follow that and see where that leads me, and something new could happen.
Do you have a favorite color?
Blue, rainbow.
Stomping Jen's is green, and I don't understand.
Wait, it's a very specific kind of.
What is it?
It's Kelly green.
Is that what this is?
No, this is not what this is.
This is jalapeno green. We're sitting in a room that is jalapeno green, and it's revolting to me.
Oh my God, where did this come
I
from?
hate green. And so Divya, this may be interesting to you as an artist. For years, I was walking around here like a rooster, crowing about how I understood color, and I have an intuitive sense for color. And Stomping Jen, and I was criticizing Stomping Jen for liking green. And we took a color test online.
No, because he kept saying he had a better sense
It turns
of color.
out I failed. I have some kind of genetic deficiency that impacts my ability to see green.
Wow.
Yes, I'm very sensitive to green.
Yes, and I had a perfect score.
And she got a perfect score.
Be your favorite color, Jen?
What, Kelly green? I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I failed miserably. And my favorite color is purple.
What shade of purple?
That used to be my favorite.
I like dark, what do you call that? I was to say husky, but
Husky?
that describes my body shape, not a color. What do you call
Like
dusky? Dusky, like
Okay.
like a dusky kind of purple.
like a gray purple.
Right.
Whatever's in our bedroom.
Yeah,
that's
I was
what I
gonna
like.
say it's like leaning towards the gray blue family.
Okay.
Because I have the perfect color sense.
Yes.
Yes.
So you know how to describe it.
I lost that argument.
Husky.
Yeah. Jeez.
Oh boy, that went weird.
I lost my words. I wanted to ask you, do you go through periods where you cannot a creative dry spell? Like I think you may have called it painter's block or something like that.
She said she didn't believe in it.
I'll just do something else.
Okay.
Because, like I said, Renaissance woman. I'll, like if I'm feeling blocked in painting, I'll like sew something or like make a drawing or go
Mm-hmm.
take pictures, or I have all these outlets that I could kind of explore and
Mm-hmm.
play
Mm-hmm.
with, and
Yeah.
that'll usually like bring me back and unblock me.
You mentioned the portraits you had been painting, and I wanted to mention that those were featured in a Los Angeles gallery show with 7 other artists called Parade Volume One. And it was displayed at something called the Bendix Building in Los Angeles. I don't know the meaning of that, but people can see that on Instagram at Parade Projects. And I wanted to ask you something about those paintings you created for that project. You talked about how you wanted to, so these were portraits,
Yeah.
and you wanted to create more action for the women that you were depicting, kind of take them out of the typical stillness of a portrait, right?
Yeah.
That we think of when we're doing portraits. How did you go about that? How did you bake that sense of action into the paintings? Or maybe not even action, but how did you counter the sense of stillness, I think is what you may have been going after.
I tried to think of a moment right before something was happening or right after something had happened, and to put that in the painting, because in, like my other portraits, it looks like someone's sitting there, and yeah, there's an emotion coming through, but it's just a person sitting in front of you in a space that is very vague and abstract, so it could be anywhere.
Did you have
So
live
I tried to
did
be
you have
more specific.
did you have live models when you were doing these portraits?
No,
Oh, okay.
I was using I just talk about them like they're real people, but
Okay.
they're real to me. No, it's an amalgamation of pictures that I get from fashion magazines and myself. So it started off as the series was, I had all these fashion magazines lying around from my, previous life as a stylist. And I was going through them, and like all these pictures that I'd kind of put like the little sticky note tabs on to mark things that I liked or was interested in as images. Like they're almost all white women. And I was just really annoyed with it. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take this and turn it into me, and basically put them in blackface. Or I felt like I was appropriating this image of a white model and like claiming that space for myself. And in that kind of action, I felt like it was giving meaning to the painting beyond just a portrait. Yeah, so it started off like that. So that's why they all kind of have this stillness about them in the beginning. And then so to go back to your question, I tried to put them in a more specific situation and specific space where some sort of action was happening.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I was just thinking about somebody like Van Gogh, and like his painting style like translates action into the painting, right? The way he actually puts the paint on the canvas, like in the little swirls, that creates a sense of like motion and aliveness, So I was just curious if there was anything in your technique that, but I think you answered the question pretty well for me.
Yeah, I tried that before. I was like, oh, maybe if I'm just more expressive in my movements of the paint, and it was just a mess. So I couldn't do it.
The paintings that you kind of self-judge as not being successful, right? What do you do with them? Do you destroy them? Do you take pictures of them?
And then I'll paint over them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there are some of my most successful paintings to me have an old, very unsuccessful painting under them. And it's the like act of destroying that painting that, I don't know.
Do you like,
something-
because you know that, do you,
Yeah. Part of the motivation is like erase this ugliness.
like I have a question, I don't even know how to like get it out. Like just like it's like a secret between you and the canvas, right? Like
Yeah.
that you know that underneath the one that you
I think that's what gives it its like
Huh.
strength and power.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. I love that. You also do a lot of self-portraits, I've noticed. What is that? What does that process reveal for and about you?
In photography or painting?
Could be both.
Both. So in photography, I started doing some self-portraits because one, when I was like more quarantined by myself and I wanted to keep taking pictures, and I wanted a subject and I didn't want to bother my family. I took pictures of myself, and also I am very like uncomfortable in front of the camera and in the public eye. So it was a challenge for me to put myself in that situation, but I could do it safely because it's just me and myself as a photographer. So I feel like it helped me understand the people that I'm shooting with, and I feel like it gives me more empathy, and I feel like it gives me a better understanding of how thoughts translate into pictures. Like whatever you're thinking shows up in pictures. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. One of your painting self-portraits, as I was reading some of your captions, this really hit me because it's something I feel and experience all the time. I'm basically walking around the world feeling like a gigantic phony and a poser. You said the painting describes it as reflecting that feeling when I'm too much and not enough, right? Talk to us a little bit about that feeling, right? And how you reconcile those two. Like on the one side, I'm too much, and over here I'm not enough. And talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, I feel like being an outsider in so many different ways, like fringes of society, just makes you feel like you're not enough to be taking up space. And so then whatever I do that does take up space, because all of us deserve to take up space, we deserve to pursue our dreams and put ourselves out there and make our creative work and present it to the world. So just that act feels like too much, because it's not what not what's expected of you, as someone who's supposed to stay in the fringes or on the sidelines. And so it's about like pushing myself to put myself out there and living with that feeling of feeling like I'm doing too much, even though like I logically know that it's not too much. It's acceptable and deserved.
Yeah. I noticed some of your self-portraits don't have faces. What are we supposed to take from that?
That's when I don't want to share what I'm really feeling.
Yeah.
And I think when I do that, it's like maybe the subject matter is too private or personal, and I'm not ready to like be explicit about it.
Yeah. It's funny,
all like coded in the symbols.
when I was
like a
cartoon,
Marvel movie.
yeah, there's something powerful about drawing human shapes without faces. When I was cartooning, I had a series of these kind of contemplative, at least I thought they were, Stomping Jen, contemplative cartoons where I would draw people without faces.
I was gonna give you a celebratory.
I said, "Oh, I get a celebratory noise.
I
Hold
just
on,
can't reach
I
the
love your
button.
cartoons, by the way.
No, they're awesome.
thank you." And
Makes me sad he doesn't do them anymore.
what's interesting? Anyway, I just want to finish this one thought. And
Yes,
like, there are times when I'm like, I can't, for whatever reason, I can't draw this character with a face. It's something in me that just, it's not appropriate here. I can't do it. The feeling I'm trying to capture, a face would ruin it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I get that.
yeah,
It's like the feeling you're trying to capture, what you're trying to say is just too complex or deep or important that maybe it's like my skills at the time couldn't accurately, like do it justice by trying to
yeah.
put it in an expression in a painted face.
Or is it that the you're leaving it up to the viewer to put themselves into that state? You're painting the framework and allowing for the person experiencing it to, like, because authors do that.
Yeah, definitely. That is a really fun thing about sharing art with people and hearing their feedback, because I feel like I always find out more about them.
Yeah.
It's revealing about them.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's like a Rorschach blot,
Yeah, you
right?
just project, because if you don't say anything about what it means and they
Right.
kind of project their idea, what it means to them, then it's an insight into their mind and what they're thinking of and the framework of their world. So I love that.
All right. This may be the most serious question I asked this evening.
Oh my gosh, okay.
What does the existence of bathroom selfies say about us
What?
as a species?
I think it's that we all want to be seen,
Yeah.
and it's like a safe space to be vulnerable like that.
Yeah.
And
Bathroom selfies.
Yeah.
we're given a societal pass to, share ourselves.
In the bathroom.
Anyone can bathroom selfie.
Yep. A lot of people do them.
I wonder if it's too, because you're looking in the mirror in the bathroom and then you're like, oh, I look really good. Let me try to capture it. And then you can't. I've done that 1,000 times where I'm like, oh, and I like try. And then
Give
I'm
me
like,
that phone. I'm going into your deleted items folder. I'm going to fish out the bathroom selfies.
oh my Jesus. Okay.
When did you know you wanted to become an artist? Like, when did you feel that calling?
I don't know if I ever specifically felt a calling more than I didn't know what else I would do with myself and my time, and I just didn't want to do anything else. So it wasn't like, oh, I really need to be an artist. It was like, oh, I really don't want to do other things. So, and then I just leaned into it. I feel like it's been, I didn't know myself too well. So
Yeah.
it's been a process.
We talked about occupying space in the world, and I wanted to ask you, you're a successful photographer. I think you make beautiful paintings. What does it mean to you to be a smart, strong, successful woman of color in the art and business world? Kind of finding yourself in this place right now?
Well, it's kind of unexpected. I feel like I didn't see myself like that. But when I did start, giving myself that kind of value and having that perspective on me, and I feel like it's given me this ability to like work towards it. And, I don't think there's anything inherent in any of these things. It's just like you choose what you want to be and who you want to be, and you put in the time, and then you become that. So I think once I realized that, I worked on it. And
yeah, I noticed in one of your posts you were talking about manifesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manifesting what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I totally believe in that. Maybe it's the influence of moving to LA. Maybe it's like the ancient Indian culture that's like somewhere in me. But yeah, I do feel like whatever I put my energy into, it just makes sense. Like you put your time and your energy and your efforts towards certain things, that is the path you carve for yourself, and that is the direction you go. And when you're thinking about those things in a positive manner, then things that come up, challenges, you could see them as opportunities for these goals that that are such a big part of like your thoughts all the time.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people who might be listening to this? Aspiring artists out there who are dreaming of doing art and for their life's work. What do you want to tell them? I think you may have just told us, but I'm going to ask the question again.
I think if you want to be an artist, then I say try to have a vision for yourself and work towards that, kind of work backwards and see what steps you need to take to get there. Write it out. Tell everyone you know about what you want to do, because you never know, who could help you get there. That has been a big part of my success, is all the people that have supported me to get to this point. And yeah, I think work hard. Like talent, I would say, is like 2% of it, and you can always teach yourself skills. It's about being skilled more than talented, and being a hard worker.
Yeah,
so.
I love that. And we hear that a lot from the artists we talk to, is the grind, right? And the thousands upon thousands of hours that sit beneath the perceived success, right? That people don't necessarily see. And that's part of it. You just gotta do the work. All right. I'm trying to I have 3 more questions for you, and I'm trying to think about how I want to ask them. I think what we'll do, anything else you want to tell us or talk to us about in regards to photography or painting?
Not that I can think of. I love your questions. Thank you. They're scary, but I like thinking about these things. And
I'll have to say, we have talked to a lot of people now, we've done north of 130 shows at this point, and you've done really well answering them.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And you've given really thoughtful answers, especially not having seen the questions ahead of time. Like we rarely provide questions ahead of time. This is a note for our listeners. So you've done great. So I'm not going to be stingy.
Yay! I did
okay. We're going to transition to our kind of last 2 really fun questions, I think. Okay. So let's step outside of painting and photography. Cool. Tell us where we can find you out there on the weekend. What are you doing to have some fun, to let loose? What do you like to do?
What I like to do on the weekend, just hang out with some friends that are in my bubble. My daughter is not here right now. She's at home with my parents in Boston, and I'm in LA. But, hang out with my family, go for a hike. I was just at a Dodgers game, which was really cool and weird to do something so normal.
Yeah.
Super fun. It was, it was very nostalgic. It was interesting. And,
Okay.
just the
Hang
usual
out.
regular stuff. Just hang out.
That's okay. That's totally fine. All right. This last question, believe it or not, is the one that trips up the most people, right? Stomping Jen. I have been criticized endlessly by guests, sometimes while we're recording, for not providing this question ahead of time. But I am going to ask it. So prepare yourself. Take a deep breath. Okay. All right. What have you experienced that you cannot explain? Maybe the spooky music will help.
He loves playing the spooky music. That is very loud, spooky music.
Okay. So I have really crazy intense dreams where I will have an epiphany in my dreams. It's pretty cool. But I'll have these recurring dreams sometimes where it's really stressful and I'm either trying to get away from something or save someone or whatever, something very challenging and stressful that I have to undertake. And when I finally succeed, so I'll have the same dream. It ends before I face my fear, quote unquote. And then when I face the thing, it's cool. It's plays like a movie. I'll remember it when I wake up, and it solves some long-standing problem I've been dealing with, and I find an answer to it through my dream. It's been pretty cool. I like when it happens.
And it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate that. And thank you for not yelling at me for asking that question.
He's always searching for aliens and ghosts.
Oh, I always don't find an alien or a ghost, but I like that. I like dreams. I was telling Stomping Jen before we recorded this, I actually dreamed about you and doing this interview. Yeah, it was this weird dream where I was trying to get to California to interview you, and I missed the plane because somebody in the airport freaked out. They didn't want to wear a mask, so they didn't do the plane.
Oh my God.
But then I woke up. Then the next part of my dream, I was sitting in California at an Old West hotel with Stomping Jen outside on a patio. And I was like, I've got to get to this interview. And that was the end of the dream. I woke up.
That's because were napping.
And now we're here.
Yeah, that's right.
We were napping.
We were napping.
All right.
The weirdest dreams happen during naps.
All right.
So true.
All right. Divya Akhouri, photographer, painter,
Renaissance woman.
Yay.
I want to say thank you for taking time to talk to us.
Thank you.
I feel we learned a tremendous amount from you.
Oh.
And I hope you will come back and talk to us at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was so nice to talk to you guys about this. You made me feel really comfortable. I was really nervous going into it. So yeah.
Thank you. You were really a fantastic guest. And I really appreciate you opening up and answering the questions. Our listeners.
Yes.
I have a message.
What is it?
Thank you for listening.
Oh, what a nice message.
We love you.
We do.
We appreciate you.
We do.
What else, Stomping Jen?
Subscribe.
Right.
Download.
Yeah.
Share with a friend.
Share with a friend. That's important.
Share with a friend.
Right. We want people to hear these amazing conversations we're having.
That's right.
What else? That's it, right?
Be safe.
Be safe. Still wear a mask, even if you've been vaccinated.
True.
Right? Okay.
Wear a mask.
Yep. Do all of that.
Get vaccinated.
And
That's
is,
it.
Is it time to say
I
bye
think
now?
it's time. We say bye
Okay.
now.
All right. Divya, do you want to give our listeners a bye now? That's how we end these episodes.
Bye now. Thanks for listening to me.
All right, Stomping Jen.
Bye now.
All right. Bye now.
This world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth. And that in the goodness of time, all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road.